Hello YouTube, Bane666 here. So let's continue with the list of supposed MRA terms as told to us by the witless bitches. Sorry, I meant the witty bitches. So let's continue with the next definition. NT response. Once again, I've got no fucking idea. NT, Northern Territory? Has it got something to do with the top part of Australia? I got no idea. Let's see what a definition is.
Noun. New Testament response.
A New Testament response. That's strange. Yeah, I got no idea. Let's continue.
Yet another negative description of men who refuse to take that red pill and go their own way. AKA most men. It refers to the biblical Jesus, who offers unconditional forgiveness no matter what the sin, whether it be a woman's relationship sins, or that time you wank at it at your buddy's house to the picture of Lara Croft. Jesus knows everything, CJ. This is, of course, the exact opposite of the MRA preferred, OT response, not to be confused with Snoop Dogg's OG response, which would probably be to laugh at these dudes while enjoying the best joint you'll never smoke.
Yep, okay, that's just all gibberish to me. That doesn't make any sense. It's not something I've ever heard within the men's rights movement. Don't know where the fuck she got this from. Actually, I do suspect I know. Let me guess, it's from the MGTOW Glossary again. And it is, yes. So let's have a look at their definition.
NT response. New Testament response. Like Jesus, a man may offer unconditional forgiveness, crawl up on an emotional cross and die for a woman's relationship sins. See beta male and white knight. This is the opposite of an OT response, or Old Testament response.
Okay, so I've never actually heard an MRA use this term, let alone a MGTOW use this term. So I don't know how common it is in the MGTOW community. It's definitely not something I've heard. Are there men who will sacrifice themselves for a woman? Yeah, of course there are. I've seen cases where a woman has attempted to kill her husband or hired a hitman to kill her husband, and then the husband has excused it away afterwards, saying that, you know, he's still in love with her and he wants her back. I'm guessing it's referring to that type of thing. Maybe, I don't know. Either way, it's not a men's rights term.
For all she has done in this act of hatred.
The act of hatred, plotting his murder. 21-year-old Julia Murfeld was caught on camera twice in April trying to hire a hitman to kill her husband, 27-year-old Jacob Murfeld.
Let's just make it painless. I don't
Okay, I'm just gonna take him head on there and I'm gonna shoot him right in the face.
Okay.
Why did she want him shot in the face? She told an undercover Michigan State Police detective she'd rather kill her husband than break his heart by leaving him.
As terrible as it sounds, it was easier than divorcing him. You know, I didn't have to worry about the judgment of my family. I didn't have to worry about breaking his heart.
But authorities say she was actually motivated by money, planning to cash in on her husband's $400,000 insurance policy, $50,000 of which would go to the hitman. Now she's traded her superhero sweatshirt for jailhouse blues, pleading guilty to solicitation of murder. Just before her sentencing Tuesday, Murfeld begged the judge for leniency, saying she's already been punished.
Honestly, it could have been worse. The crime that I attempted could have been carried out. And that alone, honestly, is the worst punishment anyone should ever have to endure, and I will endure it for the rest of my life every single day.
A far cry from the same woman who was seen laughing as she told an undercover cop she wanted her husband killed in the front yard.
So you don't want it done in the house then?
Because it would be messy in the house.
And her husband, not only does Jacob Murfeld forgive his wife, he told the court he didn't want her to serve any prison time.
For this, she's been a wonderful person, a wonderful wife. I'm sure, as you know, we have two young children. I would just ask for a lighter sentence if you could, please, sir.
That is what you call a very forgiving man. And the judge sentenced Murfeld to at least 6 years in prison, but she could serve as long as 20 years behind bar. Really a different woman.
What's next? Omega male. That's that Charlton Heston movie made in the 70s, right? I have actually heard the term omega male before, although I can't remember what the definition is. I can't remember where I heard it either. It might have been some MGTOWs. I can't remember. So let's see what her definition is.
Noun. The lowest man in the SMP, sexual marketplace. A. Man boob. See also, orbiter, simp, and probably 10 others they're just dreaming up. Oh look, yet another negative word, description, or phrase for non-MRAs. This one has something to do with David Futrell? Maybe? Who cares? Next.
Okay, so let me guess. She got this from the MGTOW Glossary yet again? And yes, of course she did. It seems she got everything from this MGTOW Glossary. Isn't that great?
Omega male. The bottom of the barrel loser. A David Futrell. A man boob. The kind of failure who couldn't get a woman's attention if his life depended on it. Men disrespect him, and women are not even aware of his existence.
Now you'll note the definition here on the MGTOW site doesn't say anything about men's rights activists. In actual fact, we look at their previous definition of MRA, we can see that it's not an MRA site. Yet she claims here that a omega male is anyone who's not an MRA. Fucking bullshit. Alright, so let's go on to the next one. 17 OT response. Okay, so we know, we can guess what this is based on NT response. Let's see what a definition is.
Noun. Old Testament response. Ah, more biblical fun. This entry refers to the Old Testament's God of Israel, aka that salty motherfucker who hated gays, whores, that poor bastard Lot, most women, snakes, non-incestuous relationships, and unicorns, apparently. From what I gather, going your own way must involve breaking numerous natural, criminal, and moral laws.
Okay, so, yeah, once again, not a men's rights term, not something we go around saying. I've never heard an MRA use the term OT response. I've never heard a MGTOW use it either. Now let's have a look at the MGTOW Glossary.
OT response. Old Testament response. Like the ancient God of Israel who would open up the earth and swallow a man to the pits of hell, leaving his children to starve in the wilderness while his wife is gangbanged by the warriors from 2 tribes over, the Old Testament response to a woman's infractions brings nothing but holy wrath. This is the opposite of NT response, or New Testament response.
Okay, so, you know, it's got nothing to do with the men's rights movement, so let's move on. 18, Patriarchy. This is funny because this is actually a feminist term. So let's see what a definition is. Oh, okay, you got me. I give her credit for that. I actually seriously thought for a second that she was going to refer to patriarchy as a men's rights term. Considering the other things on this list, it wouldn't surprise me, but alright, that one was a joke. I give her credit for that. 19, player. Isn't this just a general term for any male who sleeps around? And it's often used by females as a negative, as a, that guy's just a player, type thing. In other words, that guy is just interested in sex, so fuck him. Not literally fuck him, but you know what I mean. So let's see what her definition is.
Noun. Master of the game.
So a player is the master of the game. Okay, so here we have some pickup artist bullshit.
This is where most MRAs suddenly become slovenly iced tea wannabes. A true player is a guy who's mastered the art of getting into a woman's unmentionables without being forced to endure the indignity of treating her like a human being. instead of the sex-giving automaton evolution designed her to be, obviously.
Okay, so a couple of points about this. First of all, this has nothing to do with men's rights or the men's rights movement. This is all pick-up artist bullshit. But it's interesting the double standards here, right? Because she clearly sees the term player as a slur. If a man is just interested in sex with a woman, then he's a player, he's a scumbag, right? Because he's not interested in her as a full human being. Yet if a man were to refer to a woman as a slut,
she's a slut and she knows it. She wants to root all the boys
because she's just interested in sex and not a relationship, then that's a bad thing apparently. This is what we might call a double standard. And just for the record, personally, I don't give a shit if someone wants to sleep around. As long as they're single and not cheating on anyone, of course. If they want to sleep around and be a slut or a player or whatever term you want to use, personally, I don't give a shit because it's none of my business. What an individual does with their own body, who they sleep with, is their own choice. Of course, I'd recommend if you're going to do that you use protection. Just a little tip from Bain there. But once again, that's your choice, and you suffer the consequences if you make a bad one. But ultimately, what you do with your body, none of my business. I don't give a shit. So yeah, slut shaming is bullshit, as is player shaming, if there is such a thing. But you get my meaning. But let's check the MGTOW Glossary again. I'm pretty confident that the term player is going to be there. And it is.
Player. A man who has mastered the art of getting sex from a woman without having to give resources in return, or a woman who has mastered the art of getting resources from a man without having to give sex in return.
You'll note here that the MGTOW definition, which is clearly where she got the inspiration from, also has a definition for female players, which surprisingly our feminist author left out of her description. And the interesting thing is, right above it, we have pickup artist or PUA.
Pickup artist or PUA. A man who has mastered the concept of game. Click here for a list of PUA terminology, and here for a list of PUA acronyms.
So let's move on to the next one. Number 20, promiscuous. That would be like a player, right? Is that what promiscuous would be? Someone who sleeps around? Like a player? Maybe? Okay, let's look at her definition.
Characterized by having intercourse with numerous partners. See also, cock carousel. Please note that this word is almost always used when referencing a female intercourse enthusiast. MRAs insist that, despite all evidence to the contrary, a double standard does not exist.
It's interesting, because she talks of double standards, but she's criticizing players for sleeping around and not treating, the women they sleep with as full human beings and just wanting sex. Yet when apparently MRAs criticize women for doing the same thing, which we don't, by the way, but apparently when we do, that's a double standard. I think the term she's looking for is hypocrisy, which is exactly what she's doing here. Okay, if you go condemn men for sleeping around, you can't then turn around and say it's wrong to criticize women for sleeping around. Either it's wrong to criticize both, or it's not. Well, let's continue with her definition.
One Dolt literally writes, the ease of access and the resulting consequences are vastly different for the two genders, which often leads women and beta males to the false assumption that there is a double standard. This is the very definition of double standard. MRAs are imbeciles.
Okay, so she has a quote there. She doesn't link to where the quote comes from. Let me guess. Let me just take a wild guess where this quote comes from. I'm guessing it's coming from the MGTOW Glossary. And it is. She lifted the quote exactly from the MGTOW Glossary.
Promiscuity. the act of having a sexual relationship with anyone outside of the bonds of holy matrimony. While the definition of promiscuity is the same for men as it is for women, the ease of access and the resulting consequences are vastly different for the two genders, which often leads women and beta males to the false assumption that there is a double standard.
And once again, this isn't a men's rights issue. So that was the end of part 2. Let's go on to her third article. Yes, there is a third one. And let's see what bullshit's in this one. Number 21, relationship. Well, I think we all know what a relationship is. Let's see what her definition of what she thinks our definition of a relationship is.
Noun. A monogamous romantic partnership.
Now, I would argue a monogamous romantic partnership isn't the only type of relationship, but yeah, generally speaking, that's a proper definition, and I don't see what's wrong with it. But let's continue and see what she's got to say after that.
AKA, the silly female idea that a man would want to stop banging other chicks and paying for everything. Because no one ever gets married. Ever.
Okay. Does she realise that there are many MRAs who are married or in relationships? Apparently not, but I'm guessing, once again, she got this definition from the MGTOW Glossary.
Relationship. Usually overheard in a sentence like, I want a relationship. This is the silly female idea that some unmarried man, whom she often hasn't even met, should be interested in not banging other chicks and paying for everything. She will automatically expect him to be sexually faithful, even when he is not married, and even when she refuses to put out, while conveniently forgetting exactly why he is not married. A scenario she pre-imagines in her head in which everything is done with her best interest above all other things, while you are expected to fill a preconceived role of provider, even when she has made zero effort to earn what she expects. Your needs, dreams and desires are a non-consideration and totally irrelevant, and everybody knows it. It is common for a female to expect such commitment and displays of costly devotion, while giving her affection away for free to someone else who is not remotely invested in her. Also known as a relationship.
Well, look, I think elements of MGTOW tend to overgeneralize females, which is, even though I identify as a MGTOW, I think it's one of the problems with the MGTOW movement. But having said that, I think it's a fair point that there are women who tend to try to pressure men into relationships that they don't want. I think what most MGTOW, well, some MGTOW tend to forget is that there are men who do exactly the same thing. Now the thing is, when a man tends to do this, he's referred to as creepy or a stalker or a friend-zoned or whatever. But when a woman does this, well, it's the man's fault for not wanting a relationship. So this is another double standard, clearly. And although I think aspects of the MGTOW movement tend to overgeneralize when it comes to a lot of female behaviour, they do have a point with this particular type of female, or the double standard associated with that type of female. You know, if a man doesn't want a relationship, then don't fucking force him. That's simple, okay? It's that simple. If he does, though, and there are plenty of men who do want relationships, that's fine. That's their choice. If they choose the wrong woman and it blows up in their face, that's their choice. Next. Number 22, simp. Okay, so I would guess that the definition of a simp is, it's short for simpleton, right? Let's see what her definition is.
The amalgamation of the words sissy and pimp. Guy who gets used for his money.
Well, I don't know if that's the proper definition. I've actually never heard that definition before. That's the combination of the words sissy and pimp. I guess it's possible, but I've always thought that a simp was someone who was a simpleton. It's just an abbreviation for simpleton. Let's go on with her definition.
Typically refers to men who allow themselves to be treated like a wallet. See also, pussy whipped. What this really means is, Guy with a girlfriend who won't go to Jiggles with you no matter how good their buffet is.
Now, it's interesting because I've no doubt that she would accept that there are some men who use women for sex, but clearly someone insinuating that a woman would use a man for money, well, that's blasphemy. How dare you? That's clearly misogynistic. And here we have a clear example of double standards. Now, clearly not all women use men for money, but let's face reality, folks. There are some who do. I'm guessing once again she's got this definition from the MGTOW Glossary, so let's go have a look.
Simp. Sissy plus pimp equals simp. A classic simp thinks he has hit the jackpot but is actually being played, and is oblivious to how he allows himself to be treated like wallet. May also appear cool, in control and even indifferent when around his friend, but with the female he is whipped beyond belief.
Yeah, and I've seen this. I've seen this with guys who get used or abused in relationships. It happens. There are shitty women out there, believe it or not. I never knew that simp was a combination of sissy and pimp. I think simpleton is a much better definition, because clearly a person in that position is allowing themselves to be used or abused, or may not even be aware that that's happening to them. In other words, you'd be calling them stupid for allowing themselves to be put in that situation. And look, I admit that someone in that situation, it's a lot more complex than them just being stupid, but as an off-the-cuff comment, then yes, referring to them as a simpleton or stupid would make sense. Clearly, though, it has a lot to do with the way the person sees their self-value as a person. Let's go on to the next one, number 23, SJW. Alright, so this is clearly social justice warrior, I'm guessing. Let's see what her definition is.
Acronym. Stands for social justice warrior. Thinks online bitching and rage tweeting makes a difference. MRA's use, SJW, to mock the fruitless, to them, way we tweet, message, hashtag, and blog about the things we care about. Since this is exactly what MRAs do, it's basically their version of, I'm rubber, you are glue. Only with more death threats.
Oh, now this is so many interesting little tidbits here. First of all, the term SJW is not only used by men's rights activists. Second of all, a social justice warrior is someone who claims to be about social justice, but really, they're all about a toxic ideology. They use strange definitions of racism, where you can't be racist against a white person, or you can't be sexist against a male. That type of toxic bullshit, which we've already seen this author do. That's the type of bullshit that we criticize. Obviously not everyone who is interested in social issues is a social justice warrior. The term SJW is there to describe a specific type of fucking wanker, a specific type of fucking hypocrite. It has nothing to do with tweets, messages, hashtags or blogs. It is the behaviour of a particular type of person who claims to be about social justice, but ultimately is all about their own ego.
You're saying that I can't have a hairstyle because of your culture? Why?
Because it's my culture. You know what boss means.
Do you know it was an Egyptian culture? Are you Egyptian? Nah, bro, you're not.
Are you Egyptian?
No, but it doesn't matter.
Wait, where's Egypt? Tell me.
You know what, girl?
Where's Egypt?
Dude, go. You have no right to tell me what I do not get. Huh?
Where's Egypt?
Yo, girl, stop touching me right now.
Yo, girl, stop touching me right now. Come back.
Get off of me.
Come back, come back, come back. You put your hands on me, no word.
What? Like, you're gonna make some shit because of what the hair I have? That's no reason, yo. I don't need your disrespect. I don't need your disrespect.
Why are you filming this?
Just for everyone's safety.
Now she finishes off with only with more death threats, which is interesting, considering social justice warriors have been known to throw around death threats before. There was plenty in Gamergate, And there was even a whole heap thrown at Lacey Green when she used the word tranny a few years back. I bet it's only MRAs doing the death threats, right? That's what you're saying? So let me guess once again. I'm guessing this came from the MGTOW Glossary.
SJW. Acronym for Social Justice Warrior. Delusional plebs operating online who believe they are making a difference in the world by tweeting an image, or creating a hashtag.
Yeah, I think that's a fairly accurate definition, although I don't think it's a complete definition, because obviously more than just SJWs can fall into that category. An SJW has a particular type of ideology. Well, that's it for this episode, folks. I've still got enough material for one more video, and then hopefully we can say goodbye to the witty bitches for good. Hopefully after this they won't be writing any more articles about men's rights, but you never know. Now, I should give a shout out and a thanks to EqualRightsAdvocate, a long-time subscriber of mine, because she's responsible for sending me the link to these witty bitches articles. You can blame her. But Lexi's also been helping out on my Facebook page, my Bane666AU Facebook page. If you haven't liked it, by all means go check it out. And she's been helping me out by making a lot of memes based on things I've said in past videos, and the result has been very positive. There's been a lot of new likes on my Facebook page, so a big thanks to Lexi for helping out with that. Unfortunately, I just don't get enough time to spend a lot of time on Facebook, so Lexi's help is really appreciated. Well, I think that's it for now, folks. So until next time.
Don't drink the poison Kool-Aid.
So just before I go, I figured just for a bit of fun, I'd invent some new words. Considering the articles I'm going through making claims about apparently men's rights lingo, most of which have nothing to do with the men's rights movement, I thought for a bit of fun I'd actually make up some words and and tell you the meanings of these words, like I did last episode with V-railing. So we'll start with two words because they're related to one another. The first word is vajournalism, and the related word to vajournalism is vajournalist. So a vajournalist is a journalist who writes about her vagina or vaginas in general. And the art of doing this is what's known as vajournalism. Now, probably the best example I can give you of vajournalism is from a website, a feminist website called Vagabomb. I mean, the name says it all, doesn't it? Anyway, the article is called 15 Ways Your Vagina Would React If It Were a Person. Now, this really is the perfect example of vajournalism written by a vajournalist. By all means, feel free to use this word as much as you want, where it's appropriate, of course. So the next word on the list is tumbletation. Now, this word is created by the combination of the word tumbler and the word citation. So a tumbletation is a article appearing in a major publication which has such a low standard for citations that it is equivalent to a 14-year-old feminist on Tumblr writing a Tumblr post. That's how bad the citations are, right? That is a tumbletation. Now, I'll give you an example of a tumbletation from The Guardian. Now, The Guardian's meant to be a major publication, and the fact that a so-called journalist is so incredibly sloppy and bad should be very worrying. Now, the article is Star Wars The Force Awakens has shocked racist trolls. should it? And it goes on to say, white supremacists and men's rights activists were calling for a boycott of the film, but as the ultimate blockbuster, it's unlikely it will prove all that radical. So it has a citation, right, which clearly says men's rights activists and white supremacists. So when you click on the citation, it takes you to an article called Twitter Trolls. Note the word trolls. Twitter Trolls urge boycott of Star Wars over black character. Now, nowhere in the article does it mention men's rights. Nowhere does it mention men's rights. It doesn't even mention pickup artists. You would think that's who it would mention, right? Because that's what normally happens. And that would still qualify as tumbletation, by the way. But nowhere does it mention men's rights activists or pickup artists or anything like that. So the citation is bullshit. The citation doesn't prove the claim. It is false. It is fake. And is clearly the result of complete incompetence by the journalists. Or it is an outright lie trying to deceive their readers. Either way, this person should not be working as a journalist anymore because their level of citations is that of a 14-year-old writing posts on Tumblr about feminism and their vagina or whatever. I'm sorry. If that's your quality as a journalist, you really should be working McDonald's or washing cars or something instead. Now, the final word on the list is androvoid. Andro, of course, meaning male. So the androvoid is a bottomless pit that feminists, like the one who wrote the Witty Bitches article, like to put their sympathy towards men's issues. Right? It's this void, this bottomless pit that they get all their sympathy for men's rights and men's issues, and they just toss it down the bottom of the pit so it's never seen again. And then they cover the top of the pit with straw men and bullshit. That is the androvoid. Like I said, feel free to use these words if you wish, but make sure you use them in their proper context.